Secretary General Lim Swee Say, President John De Peva, colleagues, brothers and sisters, fellow Singaporeans. This is the most difficult May Day that we have celebrated ever. On the top of everybody's minds is the economy. What are we doing about it? What can each one of us do about it? And how can we Singaporeans stay united under stress? First of all, what is our situation? Today, the world is facing very serious economic problems. All the developed countries are in recession. The Asian economies had hoped to dodge the crisis. People talk about decoupling, Asia going ahead on its own. But we found that we could not decouple from the US and Europe. So all affected, but Singapore has been the hardest hit because we are the smallest and the most open economy and the most dependent on world markets. In the first quarter, our GDP shrank 11.5% year on year. Our latest growth forecast for the whole year 2009 is between -6 and -9%. We've never had to make such a bad forecast ever. Some private analysts even think that the government is being too pessimistic. But I believe this is a realistic estimate. Better to bring out the facts, be honest about what challenges lie ahead, and to prepare people for what we have to do together. At last year's May Day rally, I warned that our economy was going to go into a recession. We could see the problems in the developed countries. They were going to come to Singapore, matter of time. Only question was whether we're going to have a V-shaped recession, a U-shaped recession, or an L-shaped recession. At that time, there was still hope for V-shape. But things have turned out much worse than anybody had expected. There's no V-shaped recovery. Now, the optimistic scenario is a U-shaped recovery. But it's going to be a deep U, a fat U, and if we are lucky, gradually recovering from the later part of this year or earlier next year. But if we are not lucky, it could be an L-shaped problem. Economy is still shrinking. After a while, it doesn't shrink so fast. It stops shrinking, but it stays at the bottom a long time before slowly picking up again. And no growth or poor growth for several years to come. It depends on what we do, but it also depends on the situation worldwide, and especially in America and Europe, whether they can fix their financial problems. America is critical because it's such a big market for Singapore and for the world, and because its banks are such major players in the world financial system. The Obama administration has taken major steps to fix this crisis, to tackle it. They've stabilized the situation, bolstered confidence, but major problems still remain. For example, the banks still have toxic assets, and they probably will need more government money, which the US public and the US Congress are very reluctant to give because they're so angry with the banks, with the bankers, for getting everybody into this mess. But if they get angry with the banks and the banks are not put right, then the banks can't lend, means the businesses cannot borrow, cannot invest, cannot expand, the US economy cannot borrow, then Singapore and other economies in the world will all have difficulty because no market in the US. What do we do? And this is a major problem which has not yet been solved. Apart from the US response, we also need international cooperation to tackle this crisis. Globally, the G20 meeting, IMF, World Bank, you read about it. But in Southeast Asia, the countries also need to work together. And the ASEAN leaders and our partners, China, India, Australia, and so on, Japan, we met in Pattaya 2 weeks ago in Thailand, and we were supposed to discuss regional initiatives to tackle this problem, to help ourselves. So we went to Pattaya, but unfortunately the meeting was disrupted by red shirt demonstrators and had to be postponed. I was there. We spent 2 days. One day, meeting could not be held. We had to come home. The incident was a setback not only for Thailand but also for ASEAN, because the pictures, world media, everywhere, the impact on the image of ASEAN is no good, and is no good for Singapore either. ASEAN will have to persevere with economic cooperation and also try to rebuild our credibility and our effectiveness. But Singapore at the same time must understand that these are the problems in the region with our neighbors. These are the limits of what happens when you can work together in regional cooperation. And so we have to distinguish ourselves from the region and show that we still offer opportunities, we are still an outstanding place to do business, we still have the best workforce in the world, and we are going to be able to offer opportunities even if other places don't look promising. Overall, the world situation has somewhat stabilized, but the outlook is still troubled. In the US recently, you may have read a lot of talk about green shoots, people looking on the ground, hoping to see things popping up from under the snow, getting better, early signs of recovery. I hope these are real, but we know that there are serious problems not yet solved and which are not going to disappear by itself. And now we have a new problem which could be serious, and that's swine flu, which is going to affect the global economy and push growth down further, tourism, trade, more trouble for the world. So it's better for us to plan on the basis of a prolonged downturn, prepare for a long slog ahead. And if in fact the green shoots burst forth, treat that as a bonus. But it is not time to relax or to celebrate yet. So that's the situation. What are we going to do about it? We have to respond to this global situation. We are a small open economy, so we can't generate growth by spending money, unlike the US or China. But we can do something. We can help companies to save costs, to help employers to stay employed. We know how to do it. We know that's where we need to focus, and we've put our resources and our energy on saving jobs. So we launched the job credit and the Spur schemes as two key measures which have been effective and are showing good results. The jobs credit have helped to lower the cost of employing Singaporeans and get companies to explore many alternatives to retrenchment. You read about some of them just now, or you saw some of them when Swee Say spoke earlier. Spur also has been useful because it's not just a scheme, but supported by a whole system comprehensively. The WDA, E2I, the CDCs, the continuing education training centers, all the infrastructure which we have been building over the last few years, so that we will be ready for a crisis like this. We've involved the employers. They've helped us to identify the training needs, helped us to develop the courses so that the training is something useful to them. And the companies have therefore responded, and we've got more than 1,300 companies on Spur who are going to train more than 80,000 workers. So it's a successful scheme, and what we should do is to take a good scheme and improve it and make it better. In the light of experience, MOM has some ideas to improve the Spur scheme. And let me just outline 3 things we're going to do. We will do more for the middle income earners. Many are PMETs, professionals, managers, executives, technicians, who are also affected by this crisis. And their pay is generally higher, so when they go for training, the cost is higher of their pay. So the absentee payroll needs to be higher. So we will raise the absentee payroll cap. Now it's $6 per hour. We will raise it to $10 an hour, which will support training for PMETs. And I think that will be a help to the PMETs as well as the employers.